I know I've talked about this before, but it's really, really time we reconsider how we do the All-Star game. Not just the game itself, but also the ballots.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. If you don't believe me, well, I'm going to prove it to you. They've given me a lower third that says my name is Sully. I've been a baseball podcaster for well over a decade now, and I've been a part of the Locked On Podcast Network for the last 6 years doing this show. And this year, I am not only doing 5 episodes of Locked On MLB every week, I'm also doing 5 episodes of Locked On A's every week, where we're going over the A's in this, well, let's just be kind and call it bizarre season that's happening right across the bay from where I'm sitting right now. Such a bad year in Oakland that even the mayor is hiding. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look it up. We lost the mayor for a couple of days. I don't think it's because of the A's, but then again, I don't know. The A's offense is so bad, might as well see if the A's, the Oakland mayor can, get in the lineup. I'm not sure. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pod on Twitter or whatever it's called now on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And if you are going to be putting stuff on social media and everything like that, make sure to use that hashtag EverydaySully so we know who's listening to us every day. And it helps us. It helps us figure out how to sell you the right stuff. Sorry about that. Wow, that was really weird. My entire studio was shut down for a couple of seconds there. If you're watching on the live feed, I'm really sorry. I don't know what just happened, but something weird just happened, and suddenly I got booted out. Hopefully, this is not going to be a harbinger of things to come. Hey, let's talk about our sponsor for today, which is Tax Network USA. Did you know it's never too late to resolve your tax issues with the IRS? Hopefully the IRS is not shutting down this podcast. Don't wait. Reduce your tax debt and get help from a team of licensed professionals. Call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockdown. That was really weird. I'm not going to lie to you. That was very, very strange. My entire studio, I'm trying to do a live feed here, and my entire studio got just shut off for a second. I don't know. There's a ghost in the machine, as it were. We're doing this episode a little bit earlier than I normally do. Games are underway, and I'm doing this before the games start up. Wrap up. Big reason is because I need to get to bed early tonight, and so I'm going to have to get to bed before the games wrap up. So you'll have to find some of the other places. But hey, let's go through some of the trivia, some of the trivia questions, and also some of the some comments that we've gotten on the show. The question I had yesterday was, who was the only player in Los Angeles Dodger history to get 2,000 hits, all in an LA Dodger uniform? To the surprise of absolutely nobody on the planet Earth, Everyday Sully listener Scott Horstmeyer got it right by saying it was Willie Davis. The strangest answer we got was from Stephen Colatrella, 3257, who's another Everyday Sully listener. This was his response. He was narrowing it down pretty interestingly. He said, it has to be one of these three: Garvey, Vlad, or Willie Davis. Tommy Davis played too many years elsewhere. I don't know. Garvey played a long time in San Diego. I think I'm going to guess Vladimir Guerrero Sr. That's who he thought got 2,000 hits as a Los Angeles Dodger. Willie Davis is the answer. Willie Davis had a wonderful career. The late Willie Davis had a wonderful career as who was, by the way, was not related to Tommy Davis, even though they were outfielders at the same time during the Dodgers' glory years of the 1960s. He was Tommy Davis. Willie Davis had a great career where he was a Gold Glove caliber outfielder. Got MVP votes in a few years. Had great speed. He was on a lineup with Maury Wills, and he was a jackrabbit as well. Had decent power. Remember, he was playing in the 60s, where if you batted 302, you were amongst the lead leaguers in hitting. And he was doing it with, Drysdale and Koufax and later Don Sutton as part of that wonderful Dodgers rotation. He won a couple of World Series rings for his troubles in 63 and 65 and was part of the 66 team that won the pennant. And he was a tremendous player for the Dodgers during that period of time. He kind of bounced around a little bit at the end of his career between Montreal, Texas, St. Louis, the Padres. Ended his career. He made a comeback with the 79 Angels, and his final game he played was in the postseason with the Angels, which was the first year that they ever won a playoff, ever got into the playoffs. So Scott Horstmeyer got it right. Stephen Colatrella was narrowing it down. Except, Stephen, you guessed Vladimir Guerrero Sr. And Vladimir Guerrero Sr. did not get 2,000 hits as a Los Angeles Dodger. Do you know who tied Vladimir Guerrero Jr. for hits as a Los Angeles Dodger? You. And me. And Charlemagne. 0. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. never played for the Dodgers. He played for the Expos for the majority of his career. He played for the Angels, and he played for the Anaheim Angels and the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and with Texas, and I believe Baltimore as well, but never the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I think you mixed your wires there a tiny bit. By the way, yesterday we did the power rankings, and I understand power rankings are subjective and everything like that. We got an interesting comment from Eagle 1846 Y-Town. Wow, Guardians only at 5. I agree, Eagle. I agree. I think the Guardians are getting shortchanged with love and attention, with all the attention being thrown to the Yankees and to Baltimore. By the way, the Yankees have not been playing well recently, and as I'm recording this, they're losing to the Mets 3-0, and I can hear Met fans screaming in my ear, and you wanted us to rebuild. Yeah, just knock it off. And the Orioles are losing 8-6 as I'm recording this to who? The Guardians. The Guardians. And guess who has the best record in the American League as I record this and will remain so no matter what happens tonight, are the Cleveland Guardians. They're 50-26. Now, the Yankees have more wins, but also more losses. They played more games. Cleveland has been getting shortchanged, absolutely shortchanged in the honoring them and looked upon, even amongst here at Locked On Podcast Network. And they're also not exactly cleaning it up when it comes to the All-Star ballots. When I take a look at the who is leading? Now, do they have any top one? Nope, not there. Okay, Jose Ramirez. Okay, Jose Ramirez is leading the All-Star ballots. But nope. And did I mention? Nope. Stephen Kwan should be a starting All-Star. He's not. They're not getting the love that they deserve. But then again, I got to be fair about this. The whole notion of how the All-Star game is played, how the All-Star game is voted upon, and how we even have the All-Star game, what it means to baseball, I think is absurdly outdated. And your pal Sully has some ideas of how to fix that, provided this computer doesn't shut me out again from my own studio. All right, first and foremost, let's hear a little bit from our good friends over. Oh. Craziness is happening on the show. And we're going to hear from our good friends over at eBay Motor. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need and all the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Let me tell you something. If I had hired people to be running behind the scenes here, I'd be looking for someone new. I'd be making some firing, and I'd be maybe checking out the good folks at LinkedIn because, business to business selling is tougher than ever. That's why I want to tell you about LinkedIn Sales Navigator. LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a sales intelligence platform that helps professionals effectively prospect and engage high-value customers, drive higher revenue, and increase sales performance. Sales Navigator helps you target the right buyers, surface key signals such as job changes or which accounts you should prioritize, and shows you hidden allies so you can find those buyers that are most likely to convert. Fueled by LinkedIn's 1 billion member platform, Sales Navigator gives you the most up-to-date first-party data, enabling you to unlock conversations with the people that matter. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/lockedon. That's linkedin.com/lockedon for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/lockedon, and then you will get yourself started. Hey, where do you get your sports news? What's your sports hub? Tell me where you go. Answer my question. Look at where you should be going is Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. All right, let me just right now giving you the current standings. This is as of the 24th, so yesterday. William Contreras has a 400,000 vote lead over JT Realmuto at catcher. Bryce Harper is running away with first baseman as the starting first baseman over Freddie Freeman. Ketel Marte has a slim lead over Luis Arraez of the Padres. Really, it's like 50,000 votes separate the two. And let's see. Alex Bohm is leading and by a big margin over Manny Machado as the starting third baseman. Mookie Betts is leading the shortstops. Mookie Betts is out for the year. So Trey Turner, who has barely played this year, would probably start in his stead. Ellie De La Cruz is twiddling his thumbs. Shohei Ohtani is clearly lapping everybody as a DH, even though Marcelo Ozuna, who is basically an MVP candidate. Your outfielders, Jurickson Profar leads the way. Christian Yelich and Teoscar Hernandez round out the outfielders with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Brandon Marsh breathing down their necks. The American League has Adley Rutschman with 600,000 votes ahead of Salvador Perez. A lot of Orioles. Ryan Mountcastle is the lead over Vlad Guerrero Jr. Who knows? Maybe Vlad Guerrero Jr. will be in Baltimore by the end of the year. Maybe he'll be with the Dodgers and finally pass his dad with hits as a Los Angeles Dodger the minute he gets his first one. Obviously, Jose Altuve leads all second basemen ahead of Marcus Semien. Third baseman has Jose Ramirez. Hey, you got a Cleveland player over Jordan Westburg. A lot of Orioles here. What? Jordan Westburg over Rafael Devers. Really? Hey, another Oriole. Gunnar Henderson is running away with it against Bobby Witt Jr. Gunnar Henderson's a nice player. No, he's not better than Bobby Witt Jr. Jordan Alvarez is leading designated hitters over Giancarlo Stanton and David Fry. Outfielders are Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Kyle Tucker, with Stephen Kwan breathing down Kyle Tucker's neck. All right. One of the key things that I have issues with is, in the fan balloting, you can have ballot stuffing and everything like that. You could have situations where, one fan base can dominate. That happened a lot in the 80s when, ironically, Oakland was a fan base that was so powerful it could stuff the ballot boxes. Times were different in the 80s. But here's my main problem, and I've talked about this before. The All-Star game is played in the middle of the year. It rewards players who have good first halves and punishes players who have bad second halves. This is why for literally years, for over a decade, I've been banging the drum that we should start the season with the All-Star game. That to me makes the most sense. That way, when you take a look at the votes and you take a look at the stats, you're voting for an entire year's worth of the player stats for the entire year instead of just the first half of the year. And if you're a good player in the second half, or you lead a team to victory in the second half, it can punish you because your all-starness is only based upon the first half of the season. The most famous example of this, of course, is Kirk Gibson, who led the Dodgers. He didn't have the best stats. Yes, I understand. There are other players that have better stats than Kirk Gibson. But even if you didn't think he was the MVP of the league, and quite frankly, I felt that Oral Hershiser was MVP of the league. But someone, Sabermetrics, said he didn't even have the best year of any pitcher that year. I don't always understand how those advanced stats work. It's not the point. The point is Gibson played such a major role in a Dodger team that was a losing team in 86 and 87 to winning the World Series in 88, at least winning the division, because this is an award that's given out for the regular season stats. He didn't make the All-Star team. He was not on the All-Star team in 1988. That's banana boats. He never made the All-Star team, much like how Vladimir Guerrero Sr. never got a hit with the Los Angeles Dodgers. At least he had the excuse of never playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Kirk Gibson has as many All-Star game appearances as a player as former President James Madison. And in case you're wondering, zero. He has as many trips to the All-Star games as Augustus Caesar and Plato. Oh, wait a minute. Plato, I think, did Plato get on the All-Star team in 89 with the Brewers? No, that was B.J. Surhoff. I get them mixed up. Anyway, but that's not the only instance. Terry Pendleton in 1991 turned the Braves around, won the MVP, didn't make the All-Star team that year. Juan Gonzalez won the MVP in 96. He won 2 MVPs. Isn't that weird? He did not make the All-Star team. Chipper Jones won the MVP in 1999, did not make the All-Star team. Jimmy Rollins won the MVP in 2007, did not make the All-Star team. Robin Yount, 89, won the MVP in 89, did not make the All-Star team. William freaking Stargell was the We Are family and leading the Pirates and everything like that. Was the co-MVP with Keith Hernandez. Yes, just looking at stats, Hernandez had the better year. Stargell didn't make the All-Star team that year, but Gibson's the most egregious for this reason. He never, ever, ever made an All-Star team, and that's banana boats. So Okay, if you're not going to have it be where it's where you're starting the season with it, which I think you should do. If you're going to continue doing in the middle, then at least list their previous 162 on MLB.com or wherever you do, or on the ballot, and have it update every day, their previous 162. So if you're doing the balloting starting in May, then you're doing their stats that go all the way back to June. So you see 162 game sample size, or at least how they've been in a calendar year, because they may have been hurt. They may have been in the minor leagues, something along those lines. But have it be that is what we use to gauge our all-star votes. Here's the other thing. I've been toying with a lot of things in terms of how we make the trade deadline better and more exciting. I say make the trade deadline the day after the All-Star game. And so you have your All-Stars there, but all baseball is shut down for at least a day. The day after the All-Star game, no one plays. And that's when the trade deadline is. And that way I don't like those situations where there's a player and they're called off the field because they got traded to the Cubs at mid-game. Have there be a day where there's just a feeding frenzy of trades the day after the All-Star game, at the site of the All-Star game. Have that be like a winter meeting thing, but one day where the waiver, you could block waivers at this moment after the All-Star game. And there's a frenzy of trades, including maybe an All-Star or two. And so you keep that momentum, that excitement, because the game no longer means anything to anybody. What was the big moments of the All-Star game the last bunch of years? I can't think of them. And a big reason is you vote for the All-Star players, and they're all in the shower by the fourth inning. The starting pitcher faces the first three batters and calls it a day. The most exciting parts of the All-Star game are the home run derby and the introduction of all the players. And oh, by the way, have them wear their uniforms at the All-Star game. I don't want any more of this crap of them wearing a uniform where sometimes I don't know who the hell the player is. I'm sorry. If you're up there, and I know Einer Diaz is a fine player, and he was the All-Star game MVP last year, but would it be nice for Rocky fans to see a player in a Rocky uniform highlight the All-Star game instead of a ridiculous National League uniform where you're like, I don't know who that is. What team do they play for? Oh, if you look at 2-point Helvetica font on his shoulder, it has a CR. Sorry, you can't recognize every player on site, especially when they're wearing different uniforms. We root for the uniforms. That's the cool part when they all line up. Hey, there's my guy. There's Tom Bergmeyer with a Red Sox uniform, tipping his cap. Craziness. Think about my ideas. And don't be too precious about things. The All-Star game was invented in the 30s because baseball was in trouble financially, and it was a cool exhibition. It wasn't brought down from Mount Olympus or Cooperstown as, oh, this is a sacred event. It can adjust to the times. Things that don't adapt become extinct. And what we become nostalgic for, and I've made this point over and over again, is also quite malleable. And an event that we had an anniversary for recently points that out, I think, as clearly as he can. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about, am I being pushed out again? All right. This has been not a highlight reel for me technically, but let's talk a little bit about our friends from Tax Network USA. We here at Locked On MLB, we pride ourselves on talking about baseball all year long, Major League Baseball all year long. And whether it's the offseason, the draft, the All-Star game, the trade deadline, the Hall of Fame vote, spring trade, whatever, it's year-round. You know what also is year-round? Collection seasons. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let the licensed professionals and tax expert at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. I sometimes work for media companies where they pay you with a personal check or cash or something where they don't take the taxes out. They give you a 1099. If I didn't have people like the good folks at Tax Network USA working with me, I would get hosed on April 15th for all the taxes I would owe. They've got over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning like my media company taxes, or finally hit that parlay this season, you need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. See the link in the episode description below. We're going to talk a little bit about our good friends. Where? At Prize Picks. You know what Prize Picks is? You should know what Prize Picks is. Prize Picks is the most fun and easiest and most intense way to get into the fun of daily fantasy sports. And let me tell you, the NHL is over. Great finale by Florida over Edmonton. Celtics defeated Dallas, but there's a lot of great stuff happening right now. And you got the hoops actually doesn't just stop with the end of the NBA season. Women's basketball is still heating up. They got starters like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese looking to make their names against the greats like Breanna Stewart. And you can win up 100 times your cash by watching them play ball. Prize Picks is the easiest, most exciting way to play it. Unlike other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. Pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections. Watch the winnings roll in. And you get on the daily action with your friends, be part of the Prize Picks community. Hey, I mentioned with some of the picks you should go for here. They even have golf. They've got golf on there. You got Neil. You want to bet on Neil Shipley? According to your Prize Picks, you have Neil Shipley above 70 strokes. Ryan Fox above 70 strokes. Cameron Young 5.5 birdies or better. They're all over the place. You can get all sorts of sports here on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. Prize Picks. Do you know what it is? It's really that easy. Hey, this is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports streaming channel. It's available on YouTube, and now it's available on the free Amazon Fire TV and the free TV channel app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available in the free Fire TV channel app. Our good friend Jeff Cohen, who's an everyday Sully listener here, he asked me, where's your comment there, Jeffrey? He said, why aren't you watching the Subway series? As I mentioned before, I'm doing this one earlier than I normally do because I got to get up really early in the morning. And it was either not having a show up or doing it early. So I took a peek. I see the Mets are still winning 3-0. And there you go. And I also took a peek and I saw that the Guardians are still ahead of Baltimore. And there you go. Hey, the other day was the anniversary for the final game played at Crosley Field. It was the 24th of June was the final game played at Crosley Field in Cincinnati. And the final game there was between Cincinnati and the Cincinnati Reds and the Giants. And there was a ceremony where Pete Rose and Willie Mays, the two stars of both the teams, shook hands at home plate. At the end of the game, they lifted the home plate up and they, by helicopter, took it to the new stadium at Riverfront Stadium. And to me, it's interesting, that moment of Crosley Field being sent out to pasture and Riverfront Stadium becoming the new home of the Cincinnati Reds. It's interesting that neither of those two stadiums are ever mentioned as great revered palaces in the history of baseball. If you want an old-timey looking field with history and greatness all through it, and where great players played in and whatnot, and World Series and everything. Crosley Field in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is basically where professional baseball began. And Crosley Field was a great old-time looking stadium that brings back all sorts of nostalgia. And, the great players like Frank Robinson and Vada Pinson, and eventually the formation of the Big Red Machine took place there. World Series of 1939 and 1940 took place there, and 61. It was a place with a lot of baseball history. A lot of great players called it their home. It had all the quirks and mannerisms of a downtown park that you would want to have. And yet, when people talk and wax rhetorically about great ballparks, how often does that one come up? And then when people talk about, derisively about multi-purpose stadiums, one of the ones that always comes up is Three Rivers Stadium, big concrete donut, indiscernible from Veterans Stadium or Fulton County Stadium or Three Rivers Stadium or the Vet or three-quarters of Shea Stadium. Just a soulless concrete donut that we can never have. And as never, if you talk about some of the great stadiums and the stadiums you wish you could go back and see, Riverfront Stadium really rarely comes up in that conversation. Even when they built the new ballpark, Great American Ballpark, along the river, it's never talked about as like a replica of Crosley Field or thing. It's just an old-timey field. Well, I've said over and over again that the concrete donut stadiums get the short end of the stick in terms of nostalgia. And I wish they kept one of them. I went to a game at Riverfront Stadium, and when I was there, it looked a lot like the Vet. It looked a lot like Three Rivers Stadium. And I still got goosebumps when I went in there because I looked at, that's where the 75 World Series took place. That's where Pete Rose got his hit to pass Ty Cobb. That's where the Big Red Machine played. That's where the Reds topped the A's in that weird 1990 World Series. That all happened there, which is part of the idea of nostalgia, right? But Crosley Field is almost never mentioned as a beloved place in the same way that Fenway and Wrigley Field were. And why is that? Because Crosley Field met the wrecking ball and Fenway Park didn't. Because Wrigley Field didn't meet the wrecking ball, but Forbes Field did. And you look at the pictures of Crosley Field and Forbes Field, they look just as beautiful as Fenway Park or Wrigley Field. It's just they met the wrecker's ball. And as I've been reading this project I may be doing pretty soon, Fenway Park came this close to meeting the wrecking ball. Fenway Park was looked as obsolete, broken down, no longer a feasible place, and basically a anchor dragging down the Red Sox, that they need a big, huge, modern ballpark, which they wanted to build for both the Red Sox and the Patriots. And then Fenway Park would be thought of in the same vagueness as Crosley Field. Crosley Field never gets the love, and neither does Riverfront Stadium. And you know what? I think they both should. And that brings us to today's trivia question. When Riverfront Stadium opened on June 30th, what future Hall of Famer homered in the top of the first inning to give the visiting team an early lead and put the Reds at a 3-run hole before they even came to bat on that day? What future Hall of Famer got a 2-run home run that helped put the Reds in a bind? Put the answer down here on YouTube and see if someone other than Scott or Smyer can get it. If you're listening to this on the audio feed, I'm going to fix that problem I had. Sorry about that technical problem. I have no idea what happened, but I need to get some sleep. Talking about the All-Star game, talking about nostalgia, and talking about why Cleveland doesn't get the love it deserves. This has been Locked On MLB. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.